Hello and welcome. Today we will watch the release of Deep Research from OpenAI together. Let's go.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I lead research at OpenAI. Today I'm joined by Isa and Josh from our research team and also Neil from our product team. Do you guys notice anything strange?
Yeah, it looks a little different.
Well, it's because we're here in Tokyo, so hello from Tokyo everyone. The reason we're here is later on we're going to do a special event with one of our close partners, but this stream is about our next agentic offering. I want to first talk about agents as they relate to OpenAI. So OpenAI cares about agents because we believe that they're going to transform knowledge work. We think that they're going to help enterprises streamline their processes, make workers more productive, but it'll also be really, really important for consumers. So last year, we launched O1, which was the first model in our O series of reasoning models. These are models that differ from traditional models in that they think for a long time before they come up with an answer. And usually, the longer they think, the better the answer that they come up with. One of the limitations, however, of these models is that they don't have access to tools. And one of the really core missing tools.
So a tool, usually in AI, and especially in large language model, it has been trained to output the special tag. And in its system prompt or at the beginning of the user prompt, it's being told about different tools that are available to the model. And then the model would put this special tag, and then it would follow by the proper usage of whatever tool is being given in that context. And so then the model would output those numbers and those tags in the neural net. And a computer will look over that. And when a computer recognizes that this is happening, the loop of inference is stopped and the tool is parsed, and then a computer use that as instructions, and then the computer does whatever the instruction is, whatever the program is attached to that tool, and then it returns some information to the large language model, and then the large language model goes on and use that information. So it's nothing more magical than that.
Tools is the ability to browse the internet. What this means is that a lot of the things that we use in everyday life are now not accessible to the model. So we'd like to announce a next big step. We are introducing a capability called Deep Research. What is Deep Research? Deep Research is a model that does multi-step research on the internet. And what it does is
And so he said Deep Research is a model. This makes me think that there was a fine-tune, okay? So that means that maybe it was an O3 base, maybe it was a 1 base, maybe it was something else. And then they fine-tune it, meaning that they change the large language model's weights so that it predicts things in a slightly different way. And those weights were tweaked by training on a lot of examples. So I presume that they had examples of digesting a lot of research material, doing the kind of function call that is necessary to activate those different research action, and on and on.
It discovers content, it synthesizes content, and it reasons about this content, adapting its plan as it uncovers more and more information. So one important feature of Deep Research, why we call it Deep Research instead of just research, is that we've removed latency constraints from the model. Typically, models return fairly quickly, but Deep Research models, they can take 5, sometimes even 30 minutes before they come back with an answer.
So this 30 minutes here is pretty interesting. I keep seeing people online saying like that they cannot wait for this moment, that they can pay a lot of money and then have something go search for weeks and months and discover this like holy grail of information and then come back with it. And so here we're already getting into that, more than a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. Now we're going into the 30 minutes type of thing. I hope they have improved their notification features, because if those models go on for 30 minutes, it would be helpful to have a proper notification about it.
And we think this is a good thing, not a bad thing. We think it's important for our models to start doing autonomous tasks for much longer in an unsupervised way.
Okay, so maybe a little note on that 30-minute too is that when you don't optimize for low latency and for very fast response, you can start optimizing your compute and your tasks in a different way. And in a way that may make it cheaper, that kind of gives you room to breathe. And so I think it's a good move. I think it's generally something that as human we accept. Like when I send an email to someone, I'm okay that they will not respond in the next seconds. And so we accept that other intelligent agentic entities around us take some time to reply. And I think that software developers and builders of AI tools, they don't consider enough the possibility of taking time before responding. I think sometimes quality is sacrificed too much for low latency.
And this is core to our AGI roadmap as well. I think our ultimate aspiration is a model that can uncover and discover new knowledge for itself. And the first step here is a model that can go and synthesize and understand the the information on the web. What you get from Deep Research is a comprehensive, fully cited research paper.
Okay, so fully cited, now we're going into the direction of the type of features that Perplexity have had for now more than a year, and call it research paper. So we're thinking that it's going to be quite a substantial output.
Essentially something that an analyst or an expert in a field might produce to you. Now we've talked about usages for knowledge work, but there are also many usages for other things that require extensive web browsing. For instance, oftentimes you may be searching for something very, very specific, right? This also takes a lot of manual labor on the internet. You might want a specific item that you're shopping for with all these constraints that are tailored for your personal use. So it's also very good for that. I've also personally used Deep Research for putting together content for slides that I've used in a presentation. So it's very, very good across the board, across a variety of different use cases.
I like that this demo here is much more focused on being productive. The last demo was about all those kind of little, almost futile examples. And here now we're talking about like real productivity tasks.
Finally, I'm happy to announce that Deep Research is launching in Pro later today. We're going to soon roll it out to Plus and Team, and then after that to...
So always Pro first. Those are the $200 subscription account. They said they will roll it out to Plus. Okay, so I have a Plus account. I don't have a Pro account because actually I'm not even using that much OpenAI platform anymore. It's not my preferred choice.
To education and enterprise. To show you how Deep Research works, we have Neil.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. So Deep Research is in ChatGPT later today. I'm very excited to show you all how to use it. Deep Research is accessible from a button right here in the beginning of ChatGPT. And from here, you can immediately put in any query, and it's going to send it off to Deep Research. I'm a PM at OpenAI, and one of the things that we like to think about is what new features and products should we build? One of the things we've been tossing around is, should we build a new language translation app? And so this is something that I can ask Deep Research to go and research for me. So I'm actually going to type in this query. I want to learn a little bit more about all the different markets that I could go off and target. So I'm asking Deep Research, help me find iOS and Android adoption rates, the percent of folks who want to learn another language, and the change in mobile penetration over the past couple of years, and give me that difference between the top developed countries and developing countries. And I also really want this information in a formatted report with some tables and a clear recommendation on what the best emerging opportunities are for ChatGPT. So this is a query.
So as with all release, sometimes they're releasing something and they kind of describe it to us as they dreamed it to be, but then when we use it, it's not that good. So right now, what is being described seems awesome, and I just hope it delivers. I just hope it's that good. They seem to be going into the direction that they are now building a lot of wrappers around their own assets, because here it's not that different from Perplexity. And now we could think that, so this is kind of interesting because now with DeepSeek R1 and that type of open source model, Perplexity could go on and fine tune a model that becomes something that acts more as this kind of deep research model. And they have went on and they have already this kind of model development expertise, and now they did this wrapper on top of it. So now they are much more kind of starting to play in the same chord.
That would have taken me hours to put together. But with Deep Research, I can just immediately kick it off.
Is this your actual side project at OpenAI?
This is my side hustle when I'm not working on Deep Research. So what you'll first see is that Deep Research comes back with a set of clarifying questions. This is
just like a PM.
just like
I think this is good. Not enough large language models take the time to question you back, to help you clarify your question, to help you clarify your thinking before going on. A lot of times people will explain their prompt and the tasks, and the model should come back and ask questions.
This is super important because if Deep Research is going on for 30 minutes, you really want to get those requirements right. And so
I was just saying that before you said it, but I think now he said it's because they're going on for a long time, and I think they're not thinking enough about doing it when it's not going for that long. It's just the users don't know what they don't know, and helping them understand that their question is not clear because of maybe some information they don't have, asking questions that maybe in a way that makes it very easy for the user to respond quickly, like, oh yes, no questions, those type of things. But I think it would be helpful that they do it more for even the smaller question.
There's a couple of questions that it's giving to us right now. How do you want mobile penetration set up? Do you want overall adoption rates or specific categories? Should the percentage of folks be on general interest or really engaged interest? These are really good questions that you'd expect an analyst to want to ask you when you're giving them a really tough prompt. And so it's really important that you can capture these up front. So I might answer something along the lines of, I want to look at this as give me penetration as a percentage of users, usage, open-ended, and using that to go off on a mission and get all the information that you need. So you can see right now, Deep Research has taken all of that and synthesized it and started kicking off its own research process. Deep Research is really good across a number of different knowledge work domains. And so we've seen folks being able to use it for market research, for different academic areas across physics, computer science, biology. I've been using it myself to try to.
So Deep Research across biology, this is interesting. So 10 years ago, I built a website called Scholars Reading List, where I was trying to do that research of helping a novice in a field to get into their field and surface the right paper. If I could combine that with this ability to create the report, maybe I could give a second life to that project.
PM a little bit on the side. And we're really hopeful that it'll be useful for you too at work. And so what you'll see over here is Deep Research pops open a little sidebar and it shows you all the reasoning that it's doing. So you can see right now.
So in the last two releases, the O3 Mini and this one right now, they really emphasize and they say it shows you all the reasoning they're doing, because they have got quite a bit of criticism for them not giving us the whole reasoning trace, whereas we get it from DeepSeek. And I'm not convinced we get the whole reasoning. I think it's still summarized reasoning, but who knows?
Now it's identifying the top countries, it's gathering information, and it's starting its process of searching for different information. So zooming in over here, you've seen that Deep Research is searching for information, opening pages, reasoning about what it's seeing. Under the hood, what's actually happening is that the model is conducting searches, quite literally opening and browsing the pages and looking through all the different components, including images, tables, PDFs, and pulling out all of that information and using that to determine what it does next.
I wonder, he says quite literally opening it, so I'm wondering if they use their tool, operator, to do that, because I mean, many people just doubt the efficiency of that. Having a search engine and indexing the web seems more efficient, but maybe for initial use, if they don't expect to do it that much, could be fine. Maybe they will do it with operator because they were ready for a big load. Maybe they don't have a big load, and so now they want to use their servers. And maybe after a while, they will cache that information and build some type of efficient backend. But it just doesn't seem to be the right long-term way of searching the web to use the operator.
And it's really cool here. You can see it's using the information from one search to inform what it searches for in the next step.
Yeah, super cool. It's fun to just watch and follow it along sometimes. All right, cool. Well, while we wait for this one, I'll hand over to Josh to show us a different way of how deep research can work.
Thanks. Yeah, so we've talked a lot about deep research for knowledge work, and that's one of the use cases that we're really excited about for this. But it's not just for doing your job better. It's also useful for things that you might want to do for fun or at home. So one thing I really like to use deep research for is to do research on products that I might want to buy, especially for like larger purchases. Where like for me, if I'm buying something expensive, I often will like read every page about it on the internet, and I want if there's like some review somewhere that's on the internet, I want to make sure that I've taken it into consideration before I actually make the purchase. So we're here in Japan, and I've heard the skiing is pretty good this time of year. But we planned this trip a little bit last minute, so I didn't actually bring my skis. And I'm wondering if I can actually maybe just buy some skis and take a little bit of a ski vacation at the end of this. So I want to buy some skis for skiing in Japan, and how deep research can format the output. Answer or not answer. So I'll say advanced skier.
Some clarifications again.
Or the pattern ski, like a nice call. Deep research recommendation.
So Deep Research is powered by a fine-tuned version of our soon-to-be-released O3 reasoning model.
Okay, so fine-tune of O3. Nice, interesting.
And we trained it using end-to-end reinforcement learning on hard browsing and other reasoning tasks. Through that training, the model learned to plan and execute a multi-step trajectory, reacting to real-time information and backtracking when necessary. The final model is able to browse over user-uploaded files. It's also able to use a Python tool for calculations and for creating images and plots, and then it can also actually embed those plots in its final response.
Okay, this is very interesting. So it's actually not just something that searches, it's also something that has access to some Python. And so making graphs with Python, making some calculations, this could be the beginning of something quite big if they have found this way, or if, well, to finish the thought. So if they have found this way of making a model reliably using Python tool and searching, this is just the beginning of something much, much bigger, where the next step of using this Python tool, instead of just making figures and calculations, next step is data analytics, so which would be just more complicated figures and more complicated analytics and calculations, but it's not yet programming, like building a full-fledged application and understanding a whole repo. So I think analytics would be one of the fastest field to be taken over, and this makes me even more bullish in that prediction. I think analytics by the end of this year is largely done automatically by large language models.
It's also able to embed images from websites in its final response, and when it cites its sources, it actually cites specific sentences and passages. The resulting model is able to complete tasks that would take humans many hours and that are quite complex, and it also reaches new highs on a number of both public and private evaluations.
It's funny, and so now we're getting into the benchmarks. I'm a sucker for benchmarks. I love benchmarks, but yet I also mistrust them so much, so it's weird. I love to look at them. I get excited, but then I don't really trust them.
On humanity's last exam, a recently released benchmark from the Center for AI Safety and Scale AI, which tests the model's capabilities across a range of expert subjects, the Deep Research model reaches a new high of 26.6% accuracy.
That's super impressive. Humanity's
It
last
is.
final exam too.
So they changed the name. This benchmark first was called like that, then they changed it. OpenAI, probably for a little bit of marketing, they used this more kind of glamorous name. One thing to note, a little bit of context, is that this exam was built while making sure that it was a really hard exam for OpenAI O1. So, and then DeepSeek R1 came out after that. And so here it's a little bit biased against OpenAI O1. I'm not saying that DeepSeek R1 would be doing I'm not removing anything from DeepSeek R1. I'm just saying that OpenAI O1 was a little bit attacked by the benchmark on purpose because at the time it was the best model. And so now they added O3 mini in there, and now they show us what O3 does with research. So we would expect O3 without the researching to be in between here.
This test consists of around 3,000 short answer and multiple choice questions across a range of around 100 different subjects. And it's actually really cool if you see the trajectories and thinking process of the model, because it's actually very similar to how a human would solve a problem. So if I was given a really hard problem, I'd probably do some online research to try and help me figure out the answer. And we've seen examples, for example, in physics, where the model has to answer some hard calculation. It will look up an equation in an existing scientific paper and help that, and use that for answering the question. Or
a lot of people in the field of AI have a bias towards math and physics because it's usually the fields that are closest to the one that they're likely to have studied. And so it's interesting because sometimes I think they see physics as a very hard field, but it's quite an exact field. So it's actually it's quite easy. I see fields like ecology and even psychology as much more difficult fields because there is a lot of ambiguity, there's difficulty in getting data, and so having a model perform well on those fields would be even more impressive.
Or in a poetry example, the model had to identify a very niche poetic meter for a new poem, and so we saw it looking up examples of other existing poems and trying to help that use.
I'll say, okay, so poetic analysis here, that's interesting. It's going more into this like less exact science.
Use that to help it reason through how to get to the answer. On another benchmark, Gaia, that measures the model's agentic capability and requires web browsing, multimodal capability, code execution, reasoning over files. The model also reaches a new high on all 3 levels of difficulty.
Okay, so this is interesting. It's a new high, but for the normal people, we really should look at that line. I mean, this line is exciting to see what's in the future, and we can see that we're not like, the future is not easy. Like you still have, they will have to work hard. Other people will have to build complex or complicated system on top of DeepSeek R1 or those type of things to make progress, because we're not gonna get it for free because of the difference between those two here. And so, but pass 1, that would be when you're just using Deep Research once and then you get the response. Here they're using Deep Research 64 times. This is what I expect. Maybe they will explain it more. But yeah, so the jump for running that 64 times more, which we could expect, 64 times, 4 times more expensive, is not that big, and it's also not that big from previous SOTA. So, interesting. They are being SOTA. They are now being the best at it, but it's not by an extreme margin. So they are not like doing a whole new revolution.
We've also put together some internal benchmarks that are pretty broad-based. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, for sure. So we also put together some expert-level internal evals. And we have a range of tasks that experts would do in their jobs. And we had the Deep Research model answer them and then have the experts rate the responses. And the model was able to complete tasks that the experts said would have taken them hours and a lot of manual investigation. So we have 2 graphs to illustrate this. So we have on the left pass rates for different estimated economic value ranges, and then on the right we have pass rate for different ranges of number of hours to complete a task. And pass rate is the rate at which the model provides a satisfactory answer to an expert level task as rated by that expert.
So I am a very early adopter of tools, and 20%, I don't know what I feel about that. Like okay, so if you're asking the question and you have to wait 30 minutes and 1 time out of 10 you will give it a pass rate, but you have to evaluate it, that basically means that you have to wait you have to wait 5 hours, and in those 5 hours, one of them will pass doing a 10-hour task. And then you have to evaluate all of them. So it seems like it would save you time, but not by that much, and it would like really kind of change the workload. Maybe it's easier to evaluate things as a human than to make them. And it's interesting here that, it's pass rate, but when it failed, was it already accelerating you? Like, could you just add a little bit more, maybe launch another research, kind of combine the results? And so here there are some details as to whether it would be useful enough right now to really save time and use, and then by how much.
What's interesting from these graphs is that pass rate is more correlated with estimated economic value than it is with estimated number of hours to complete the task, which shows us that the things that the model finds difficult aren't necessarily the same things that humans find time consuming. So this graph is pass rate on these expert level tasks against the maximum number of tool calls. And what this shows us is that as the model is able to spend more time thinking and browsing, the performance increases. And this
it does increase, but it also plateaus. And so there will need to be some innovations to break through the plateau.
This is really important because, as Mark described, we're moving towards a world where agents are going to be able to take longer and longer and complete harder and harder tasks. And so if we give them more time to think and more time to use these tools, they should be able to solve harder tasks. And then one final internal evaluation is
there will be so much compute spent that is just about using those models. And so, efforts to make those models run as efficiently as possible, to distill them is in as small as possible of a format, those efforts would be really important. So projects like Mojo and Modular, what they're doing with GPUs, different architecture like DeepSeek did, those projects would be really important. Because I did say that it doesn't matter to wait. Sometimes it's normal, and I would prefer to make sure that any report I get is perfectly okay than to have to read 10 reports and just find one that's good. So I prefer waiting a day, a week for that. But faster compute can change a lot of things. Like if you 10x your compute speed, well, then now something that would take 30 minutes now takes 3 minutes.
A hallucination evaluation, and this model actually performs the best on that eval of any model we've released. However, it's still possible that it will hallucinate, so when you're making reports, make sure to check the sources yourself.
I mean, if you have to check every sources because of hallucination, this is going to be tough. And I mean, this is tough. At this point, it seems like once you have the report, to go in and have kind of programmatic check that kind of match things, information, maybe it loops through a diversity of LLMs, maybe even some fine-tuned models for like some text and logic extractions or whatever. Because checking the sources is not going to be possible for those big reports. Or it could be, but then how much time did you gain?
And so, as we mentioned, the Deep Research model can take a really long time to respond. So we generated some examples this morning to show you the range of different things it can do. And so we can look through some of them now.
Yes. Super long.
Very, very long.
So they're trolling a little bit. Is Deeper Seeker a good name? So DeepSeek, and now they went for Deep Research, and they were trolling a little bit with Deeper Seeker.
We haven't solved the scrolling to the top problem.
Okay, so this is a finance problem. So I'm an investment analyst in a Silicon Valley VC firm. I want to analyze the market for civilian supersonic air travel and prepare a thorough investment memo, and then many other specifications.
Okay, and we can see here there was a little pop-up. So they have an in-app pop-up, but we don't know what other types of notifications are in place right now. It's interesting. This is cool. Like you see here on the left that you kind of have a little bit of a progress bar on the chat that is being worked on.
classifications. And so the model clarifies, and we provided some additional for 7 minutes, used 12 different sources, and then came back to us with quite a comprehensive report of the field. And you can imagine if you were doing this for your job, this would be quite helpful to bootstrap your research as you're doing your initial investigation.
Yeah, hopefully this works, and next time we have to come to Japan, we'll be a little bit less jet lagged with the supersonic travel.
Supersonic.
So here's another example. It's a biology example.
So there's a very cool feature in a tool called MIST, MD. So it's a tool to do documentation and scientific writings and with Python and programming mixed in. And they have a way that when they make a citation, they show you a little snippets of the page that is being cited. And so you can actually kind of verify and see what's behind it. And that would be a really nice feature here to help you verify those citations faster.
So we uploaded a paper, and we want to find other papers on the same topic, advanced in biology can do. So the model took quite a long time, and it was able to find a bunch of different papers that are on the same topic. And when we showed this to our friend, he said that it was a pretty good response. So it was a good vote of confidence for the model. And then one final example.
Over here.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone's had this moment where you can't remember the name of the restaurant that you went to in Tokyo 10 years ago, or the name of the TV show that you're looking for. And so this example might seem a bit contrived, but we wanted to show how good the model is at finding those needle in a haystack pieces of information. So the prompt is, there's a TV show that I watched a while ago. I forgot the name, but I do remember what happened in one of the episodes. Can you help me find the name? Here is what I remember in one of the episodes. 2 men play poker, one folds after another tells him to bet. And then a little bit more detail about the story. And the only additional information we were able to provide was, I think it was 5 to 10 years ago, but I'm not really sure. And the model is able to do online research and figure out, like through reading a bunch of different sites and reasoning about the contents of those sites, the actual TV show episode that we're thinking of,
Wow.
which is pretty cool.
Was that the right answer? Was that the one?
That is the TV show.
Wow.
So now I'll hand back to Neil and Josh to check in on the task that you guys kicked off at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Isa. So we'll take a look at the original task over here. It actually looks like the task is still going on right now. But in the meantime, while we've kicked it off, it's already looked at 29 different sources and gone through a lot of different information. Oh, wow. OK, perfect. Good timing.
Incredible timing.
Great.
So Deep Research just put together its full analysis. It took us 11 minutes, and in that process, it looked at 29 different sites really in depth. And as you can see live on this live stream, it gave us a perfectly formatted report. Here you can see the...
So, I mean, there's always a tension between releasing fast and having something that is polished and ready. And here I'm thinking like, it's missing a little bit of a few of like low-hanging fruits, like they are already having this canvas, so they could have released the report in the canvas so that you can modify. That could have been nice. Also, it would have been nice that they're using those type of reporting tool that I mentioned, and so that you could have more kind of control over the styling, and they could make it. I mean, right now, my main feeling is that the chat interface is now starting to really struggle to deliver that type of information.
Mobile market analysis for mobile adoption and language learning. We got a nice introduction, our different adoption trends, everything put together in a really great report style where you can see mobile penetration over time and a ton of different data. And as you go down, you can see it not only has information over here, but also different table formats and ways that it's presented the data in a way that's...
Like again, like you've seen that table, it could have been an interactive JavaScript table. It wasn't hard to do. They just, kind of rushed it a little bit maybe, but it's also fine. Like, I mean, it's great to release it and then they can polish it later.
Super digestible. So one of the other things that's really cool about this model is that you're able to click in and see all the different sources that it's able to cite. Over here, you can see every citation that the model's encountered, and also different sites that it might have encountered that it didn't necessarily put into the final output, but it wants to let you know that it found along the way. Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Great. Should we check in on the skis?
let's check in on the skis.
All right. So, this is the kind of thing that I would probably like have to spend all afternoon just but this does a pretty good job of actually just doing hitting all the sites that I would hit and consolidating this all in a format that's
At this point, it's a little redundant, like, oh, I asked this question, it worked for me too. Good. Thanks.
a lot easier to digest than doing my own searches. And it also provides a table at the bottom here that just gives kind of like the
So see here, the table's a little better than the other one, but it could have been more interactive too.
purchase. I find that deep research works really well if you're like very, very specific about the type of answer that you're looking for, both in terms of what information that you want, what comparisons you want to see.
Now here, this may be a valuable trick. So we're given a trick that he found that it's really helpful to be very specific about the type of format and answers you're looking for.
And anything about the format that you want the final output in, because the model is able to take all of those things into consideration and think about them all as it does its searches and puts together its final report. So this sort of passes the sniff test for me because the top recommendation here is actually the skis that I own at home, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
So
I love that.
I'll take a closer look at this and maybe plan a little bit of a ski trip after this.
All right. Let's go this weekend.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can imagine, there's a lot more that we can do with this technology. So I'll hand it back over to Mark to talk through where we're going with this.
Awesome. Yeah, just to recap, Deep Research is available later today on Pro, and we're soon going to bring it to desktop and mobile. But again, what we're launching today is just scratching the surface of what you can imagine us doing with Deep Research. Today, we have a Deep Research agent that browses the web. But you can imagine that same Deep Research agent connecting to custom contexts, right? Or really just kind of enterprise storages of data. Again, Deep Research is important to our AGI roadmap. We believe in agents that think longer and longer, more autonomously to solve very difficult tasks. And we believe that this, the ability to work on a task for 30 minutes really does motivate a lot more compute investment. So we're excited to see what you guys do, and please share with us. Thank you so much.
So if I understand properly that last sentence about this motivating compute investment, it's kind of like just saying, like I did, big compute will be coming. I just said that when I had a note in the middle, but now he kind of emphasized that point, maybe a little bit to kind of secure their compute or whatever, because there were these conversations after DeepSeek saying like some people, like the NVIDIA stock drop and all those things. And so now he's like, yeah, we're going to require a lot of compute. So we need that investment. We need that money. There are always all of these, kind of, I guess, hidden agendas going on in the videos. Maybe something that is worth noting, especially if you're still here in this video, is that a very well-respected figure in AI, Jeremy, is pointing out, to OpenAI Deep Research release that they have used now the same name than Google's released back in December 11th of 2024. So try Deep Research in Gemini. And so, it's really hard to take OpenAI seriously when they criticize so much other AI organization and they themselves go on and just straight on use the same word. And so they are calling it the same name as Google are calling something. And in the video, we were seeing that they were trolling DeepSeek with this little message with DeepSeeker. I mean, I appreciate that they're moving some aspects of the world forward. Sometimes they make it faster. Sometimes they just make it just as fast as others. I'm not sure I appreciate the way they are doing it, Please let me know in the comment what you think about that. My name is Max. If you like the video, please subscribe, like it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.